afternoon, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Toledo. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited for today's program. At this time, I'd like to ask Reverend Gale to come to the podium to deliver a reflection and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Reverend Gale.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Intentional Acts of Kindness Week is coming, and so I thought I might give you a few ideas about how to celebrate it. One idea is that you could go on your platforms, whatever you use, and ask all of your friends to do one kind thing every day that week. Can you imagine you guys have friends. I know you. Can you imagine the hundreds, the thousands of people who could be doing intentional acts of kindness just because you asked them to? I also think it would be great if on those platforms you would post stories about people's actions, what you've seen and what you've observed. Not necessarily what you've done, although I would love to know that, but, making people look. We see what we're looking for, right? And if we're looking for kindness, we're going to find it. So tell people about it, and also to say thank you. When you see someone doing something wonderful or even something small, the best way to get them to do it again is positive reinforcement, right? So say thank you when you see someone doing something kind. Again, what we're looking for is kindness, and when we look for it, we find it. So let's pray not only to be a sign of kindness and an actor of kindness, but also to see and promote kindness in our world. We transform ourselves that way, and we make the world just a little bit of a better place. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend. I would ask if you have an open seat at your table, please raise your hand. See, look at that. We got plenty of seats. Wonderful. So if you see somebody kind of looking, we're still looking for someone to sit right front and center. Why am I shocked that no one took that seat? As we begin our meeting, I would like to thank this month's meeting sponsor, Danbury Realtors, and Rotarian Max Reddish. I saw Max somewhere. Over. Max, thank you. Does anybody have any guests that they would like to introduce? Please come forward to the floor mic. We ask you to use the mic and speak clearly so that our friends on Zoom can hear us as well.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests. President Kevin, I have with me my friend Kay Lynn. Kay Lynn is a director at Snapology, which is a STEAM-focused thing, so she works with kiddos in these schools, and she's very good at it. So welcome her, everybody.
Awesome. Kay Lynn, thank you for being here.
President Kevin, today I have Gretchen Hall, who works for Meyerberger, a solar panel manufacturer. I also have a big group from Ann Grady Services here, so if y'all can wave from Ann Grady Services. So thank you.
Gretchen, friends from Ann Grady, thank you for being here.
This is so tall.
Okay. I have 4 guests. I'm sure you're shocked, Kevin, and all fellow Rotarians. My first guest, this is really awkward. Whatever. Okay. My first guest she's the owner of Kennard Child Care Center. Her name is Stephanie Kennard. Thank you.
Stephanie, thank you for being here.
My second guest is the executive director for Chicks for Charity. Her name is Mona Shoshar. Yay!
Mona, welcome.
My good friend Katie Kirker Wanazak from iHeartMedia, and she's a sales executive.
Katie, thank you for being here.
And my last guest is with Real Solar. He's a sales and finance project manager, and it's Ali
Abu Ahmed.
I didn't want to mess it up. Thank you.
Ali, welcome.
Good morning, President Kevin and fellow Rotarians. This is Nate Tembo and Q. They work for Young Life here in Toledo, and they work with within the youth ministries within the Toledo public school systems. So, thanks for having us.
Awesome.
President Kevin, I have with me my friend Tara Linker. She's with Mercy Health and Manager of Community Relations and Strategic Partnerships.
Awesome. Tara, welcome. I see at least one visiting Rotarian. I'm going to force you to go to the microphone and introduce yourself. You're not getting out of it, Haifa.
Hello, visiting from Reynolds Corner Rotary. Haifa Hailu, Director of Advancement with Tutor Smart Toledo, where we help kids reach their grade level potential with targeted data-driven tutoring. So, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Haifa. All right, this time I will invite the Foundation Chairman, Jim Lamond, to throw out an interesting challenge for Rotarians.
Thanks, President Kevin. I'm here today to bring forward an offer from a very generous member who would like to encourage all of us to wear our pins more. So not only at meetings, but more importantly out in the community, so people can see that you're a member of Rotary. He's going to make a donation to our foundation's annual campaign, $10 for everyone who's wearing a pin at a random meeting next month. So wear them every month, wear them every week.
If you don't have a pin, don't know where your pin is, or have a drawer full of pins, let's all connect, and we can make sure between myself and Jackie, we can get you guys a Rotary pin. So thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. I like that challenge. At our club board meeting on Thursday, we proudly approved the following individuals as new members, and I know some of them are in the room. Chris Eischen from Toledo Tech Loft. Well, this is going to get real long if we're clapping in between all of them here, Shane. Tim Menke from Lot Industries, Nathan Lawson from Superior Made Spaces, Kate Sommerfeld from Greater Toledo Community Foundation, Katie Williamson from Andres O'Neill and Low Agency, Julie Woods from Fast Signs, Scott Wills from Lourdes University, Dr. Ashley C. Benson from Lourdes University, and returning Rodney Eason from Erie Home. A round of applause for all of our new members. The growth of this club is driven by each and every one of you and by sharing the good work that we're doing, and we're seeing the momentum, which is really incredible. The district has sent out a membership update for all the clubs in the district, and our club not only had the largest number of individuals join since the start of the year, we've also had one of the largest percentages of growth, which as the largest club in the district is pretty incredible. And so not surprisingly, I've gotten emails from several other clubs saying, what are you doing? And they don't like my answer, which is the work. We're doing the work, and we're telling our story, and it's working. And so I'm excited to see the new members here, excited to see you join us in doing the work in our community. So a year ago, I attended the He for She Forum put on by Women of Toledo. Toledo Rotary was proud to serve as a sponsor of that event, and there was a handful of Rotarians in the room. And as I sat in the room and hearing the message, I was so excited about the work that is happening in our community, about the progress that's being made, and about the leadership that we have. And I also was, in my own lens, coming into my year as president of this club, there's a handful of things that as the president, you just sort of get to say, like, this is what we're doing, and you guys kindly follow along. And this was one of those that I said, you know what? I want that forum to come to a Rotary meeting. And so started talking with Nina and the team and said, is there a way that we can bring this forum from a Thursday evening at the Art Museum? Can we bring it to a Monday at noon and bring it in front of our group? And God bless Nina and her leadership. She said yes. And here we are, and I'm so grateful for you all being here. With that, I'm privileged to introduce the Executive Director of Women of Toledo, Ms. Nina Corder. Are you going to introduce Julia then?
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, President Marlon, Jackie, and the team, and fellow Rotarian. So I'm very grateful and very thankful that we are able to bring our final forum for the year, partnering with Toledo Rotary. So thank you so much for hosting us. And I'm really excited to collaborate and feature one of our forum today. And thank you to Women of Toledo team to always say yes to me, and also the board. And our circle of Toledo, he for she, when we bring this program, we don't know what to expect, but thank you, Sham Sushak, Jonathan Dosley, Corey Wallen, and President Marlon, and John Frank for their involvement since the day one when we launched the program. Women of Toledo, if you are new to us, I want to stay to the program and stay on the time, but if you'd like to learn a little bit about our organization, we do have a program book, and if you flip it in the back, you can read about Women of Toledo. There's about 427,000 women and girls in our community. That's our goal, that's our vision. We want to educate, engage, and empower them and elevate quality of life. So since the launch of the 20 September 2014 at the United Nations, by UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and UN Women Global Goodwill Ambassador Emma Watson, hundreds of thousands of men from around the world, including head of state, CEO, and global leaders from all walks of life, have commitment to gender equality. A little bit of history, how Toledo involvement in this campaign. In 2016, I had the opportunity to be a part of a UN Women Empower Women Fellowship program. And at the end of my fellowship, my research concept paper received the recognition and certification as UN Women Empower Women Global Champion for Change. With that being said, that gave me a license to bring UN campaign and UN program anywhere we go. And thank you to Women Leadership Board Governance, and they say, yes, we help you anchor it. Let's take UN program and bring it locally. I also had the opportunity to get involved with Human Rights Institute and the UN Office of High Commissioner of Human Rights for UN, and now we have about 4 of our team members certified of human rights advocate. And this is why I mention all this, because it aligns with us as a Rotarian, service above all. And I know that Peace Committee will agree that human rights is something that ordinary that we can bring for a peace conversation. Since then, our organization continued to campaign UN program and initiative, and recent involvement, UN including joining their task force, and where we received consultative status with the UN Economic Social Council under the International Alliance Women's based in Geneva for the commissioner status of women. The men of Toledo, they say, how about us? We don't want to be on the sideline. So when it comes to inclusivity and equity for all, they know just not women's issue, it's a human rights issue. So in 2018, we launched Local He for She and invite men in Toledo to be our ally and stand in solidarity with Women of Toledo to create a bold, visible, and united force for gender equity. For Toledo, our focus and commitment, accelerating women's economic empowerment. So I invite you to read more on page 2 of the program book or scan on the QR code page 7 to learn more about what our local He for She effort. So Toledo joined the global movement. With men as our ally, we are committed to making our city a leader of gender equality and equity. Our goal, our campaign is to get 100 men in Greater Toledo to pledge and commit to the He for She movement by the year 2025. And that we will receive, our city will receive a recognition by United Nations as champion for He for She. when they are working with women, with each other to build business, raise family, break the glass, and give back to the community. So thank you again for the opportunity to showcase our program. Thank you again, President Mullen, for saying yes, for supporting all this, such as our Girls Hub program, in which we teach young girls how to build their seat at the table. So we have couple chairs, so you definitely want to check out our seat at the table exhibition that led by our team, Julia, had an opportunity also to showcase as City of Cedar 10th anniversary onward to Beijing Plus 30, a culture of peace with the United Nations. So don't think that we are small in Toledo. A lot of our work is being recognized all over the world. So I applaud you and thank you for featuring us. Onward to our program today, led by moderator and my fellow Rotarian, Julia H. with Ann Grady Service, and our panelists today, Vin DiPafi, SSOE Group, Ronnie Eason, Erie Home, and Chad Stocking, Principal Business Enterprise. So I welcome you to the stage, and so we can start with our panel discussion program today.
And this is where we need walk-up music. Bum, 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 da, da, da. Well, thank you all so much for welcoming us to this wonderful conversation today. I had the pleasure to meet with each of these gentlemen individually to get a sense of who they are. I knew a couple of them, but get a sense of who they are on a deeper, level as far as the he for she conversation, and in all of their opportunities to be a leader in this field, to be a leader in this community. What the main theme I found was the idea around intentionality. Being a male in sometimes male-driven leader roles, also being a male amongst women, they have had different opportunities to where they've been able to expand their minds. And so we're gonna dive into that a little bit today. But as we start the conversation, I want you to have in your mind the idea of being intentional, as that is going to be a theme across it. So to start, I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Rodney and ask the question, what drove you to advocate as a he for she, and what intentional steps did you take? Is your microphone on?
Check.
Oh,
Okay.
there we go.
All right, this is great. So first of all, thank you for allowing us to speak in this space. We don't take it for granted. I think it's a awesome process for he for she. But what besides being voluntold by Nina Cordura, if you know Nina, she's really good at voluntelling. In all seriousness, about 6 years ago, I believe, I'm looking around for Sierra to confirm, but I was introduced to he for she, and one of the things that was interesting is and it's not even just being an HR professional, I've been an advocate for women all of my career, but I didn't know what I didn't know. So I think one of the values of being involved and being an advocate, specifically in this space, is the continuous learning. Okay, just when you think you know, things evolve, environments evolve, new generations, Gen Z is coming, and there's different needs. So I think it's always being in a position of really being educated and learning and being challenged to learn more.
Well, and when you had the opportunity to sit as a note taker at a he for she panel, can you speak to the importance that was? What the impact? What did that have on you?
Yeah, so being a note taker, what I had an opportunity to do is sit and listen to a group of women leaders talk about different subjects. You could not say anything. You sat there and you took notes. Even if you were asked to give an opinion, you do not say anything. And I'm saying that because I told Nina I was going to actually follow instructions one time. But what I learned is things that I didn't know. I mean, I didn't realize some of the dynamics of, I remember one particular story of a leader who was trying to navigate the space of going on maternity leave and how that would impact her role and all the dynamics that were stressors for her that I would have never considered. So there are a number of different examples and awarenesses that were brought to the table that really help you be sensitized to what people are really going through.
And as someone who has a very strong female leader as a wife, who has pursued her own career, her own business, what do you do, or how do you show up in that space to be the best support for her?
Wow, I could talk all day about my wife. If you don't know my wife, it's Sheila Eason. I don't know if anybody knows her, but oh, wow, great. Okay, great. Over here, anybody? Over here? Okay. She runs Elevate People Solutions, and she was formerly in HR as well and decided to go into her own business. I think what it taught me is my wife is full of treasure. And what it taught me is to go back and continue to dig up that treasure, because while we've been married 23 years, we are very different now than where we were. She never planned to run her own business, but as she evolved, learning that you keep going back and keep digging up that treasure. So that's, for me, it's encouraging it, it's supporting it. I have my own HR consultant too. So it's like, so that's great too. But just realizing that every leader, but specifically my wife, was full of treasure, and I learned to keep encouraging it, digging it up, and really, really being there for her when she made the transition.
Thank you so much. And the idea of the treasure, right? Finding and investing in wonderful women, you end up gaining something from that, whether personally, professionally, out in the community. And so when we think about SSOE and all the wonderful work that Vince has done, really cultivating a community and a culture around supporting women from within, what was your light bulb moment that you said, I should probably invest in this. I should probably focus on this? Here, I'll switch you.
Thank you, can you guys hear me? Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank the organization for the invitation here. It's truly an honor to be on this panel with both of you. Just to be selected and asked, it was really an honor. So my light bulb moment is a funny story. So we got to go all the way back into the 80s. I've been around a while. So the engineering business is notorious for having very few women. It's not great now. It was really bad in the 80s. So I remember this story. We were doing a big design review, looking at some plans, and there's 15 people around the table. Take a break. There's one woman in the room. I should say that up front. Come back to the meeting, and we're talking about this, and the woman speaks up. She goes, "When did we make this change?" And somebody says, "Oh, well, we talked about it in the restroom on break." So fast forward literally 20 years, let's say, 2010-ish, somewhere in there. I'm down at Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble, by the way, is probably one of the leading companies in terms of advancing women in their organization. I'm in a meeting with 3 other women. You can see where this is headed, right? We go out on a break. We come back. Vince, we had this great idea in the ladies' room that we were talking about. So, and I got to tell you, it doesn't feel good. I mean, that exclusion really didn't feel good, and it really gave me an instant impact on how that feels. And by the way, that woman that I was talking about that way back in the 80s, we're still friends today. I called her that afternoon, relayed that story to her, which she really appreciated, knowing that the shoe was on the other foot.
Well, I think as you, I'm going to switch back. Sorry, dear. As you have learned through the years, and as you've experienced now your own of going, well, that didn't feel great, it starts to open up your perspective of what else is happening. Just like how Rodney spoke about sitting at that table in the discussion going, so things are happening and I'm unaware because I'm living my life and I have sort of my blinders on doing what I do. And it feels like in the movement that SSOE is really focused in, this, full wave of change that has come the last few years, it seems like you've taken pretty strategic steps to not only create an inclusive environment for the community, but specifically with women in your leadership and how you market to them. So if you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, and I know you all know her, my biggest mentor sitting out in the audience there, Candace Harrison. She hates me embarrassing her, but you know who she is. She's been, and I think that's probably one of the first intentional things to do, right? Because I'm a mechanical engineer. This is not the area where it's not my area of expertise, right? I needed to learn, and I hired someone really for me to work for her to say, here's what you need to do. Here's how to guide you. So that was probably the first, and that's a signal, a true signal to everybody else in the company. CEO brought someone in to help him learn this, and I think that intentionality is probably the first thing. But a lot of it is tactical. A lot of it is, I'm sure every woman in the room here knows the term heap heating. Heat? Does this ring a... Really? I didn't see a lot of head shake. Heat-eating is a woman says an idea in a meeting, everybody ignores it. 3 minutes later, a man brings it up, and the woman looks around. I just said that 5 minutes ago, right? How many women have been a victim of that? Yeah, about every room in the... Yeah, exactly. So I've become sensitive to those types of things. You know, so sometimes it's the day-to-day little things where I'll point that out in a meeting. Say, wait a minute, or make sure, frankly, that it doesn't get noted in the first place, right? That we don't just gloss over that. But it's also about, I had a meeting with a woman in a company, and I was saying, boy, it's really hard to recruit women in engineering. They don't graduate it. And she was just like, I'm not taking any of that, Vince. She goes, what are you doing to attract women? What are you doing to attract women to the company that's different? And so we've really started thinking differently about how do you market the company. Things like, I mean, one of the biggest things we've done, we've maintained a flexible work environment even in a post-COVID. I know there's a lot of arguments, should people be in the office, should not be in the office. Believe me, the flexible work arrangement is a very attractive feature to many of the women in our company who are of childbearing age. And for better or worse, we all know that women are still bearing the brunt of childbearing, taking the kids to school, picking them up and that. And that flexible, I mean, I'm seeing more and more men do this, but it's clearly the 80-20 is still there. And so those types of things are, you know, we have to be intentional. Say we're creating an environment where women can be successful in their career and in their home life too.
And I think there was one thing in addition to that you said of, you know, as a white male in an industry dominated by men, when you go to hire someone, you look at, you know, who's the most comfortable for me, who looks like me, who sounds like me, who thinks like me, and that's our default, right? That's the comfort zone. And so taking the stance of, I want to be more thoughtful, I want to be, you know, more innovative, and Rodney and Chuck also, you know, brought this to the table of being a human in a space amongst human, even if that means that you're a little bit uncomfortable, because without that opportunity for growth and change, there's no progress forward, right? So it sounds like SSOE is doing quite a bit of work, and yourself and Ms. Candace are taking the steps to be more agile and more thoughtful about how you're presenting yourself to the community. So incredible job there. And Mr. Chuck, I'm going to pass it over to you, because there's something that you and I spoke about over the generations of an igniter for you that made you go, maybe I need to think differently. Can you speak to the influence that you received?
Yeah. I think I grew up in what you'd call a he for he age. You know, I was at the country club playing golf with my dad. I played football. I did all those things that he's do. And my mom was, she was involved, I'd say she was in the club culture, bridge club, book club, golf club, and League of Women Voters, and the library board. But she wasn't really included in much of the leadership of the community. And I observed that. Now, a little bit on the soft side for me, I was my grandmother's principal caregiver. She was 94 or 95, and everybody else was so busy in our family, so she and I grew very close, and after a while she had some dementia, and so it was good for me to be with that. And this really prepared me. I'd call this the beginning of the she for he, because I think I got more out of that relationship than she did. She made me very sensitive to the situation with seniors and some of the things that they deal with. She happened to have some issues with bladder control, and I just thought old people's houses smelled that way all the time. You know, so it's, well, we'll roll the clock forward, but I have a few other things to go into. So I go to high school, and here's where he for she really begins to come into my experience. You know, your teachers all along the way are so, you just can't, I mean, how many of you have had high school teachers or college teachers or elementary teachers, Romnus, I'm looking at you too, you know, who've had an impact on your life, you know. And so I had a social studies teacher, and she was of one political persuasion, and I was on the opposite side, and we had the best relationship. We would argue back and forth, but she opened my eyes to a world that I didn't really know about. It was a social studies course. Now, my Rotary at that time was all he for he. There were no women in Rotary. That was a monumental technology or strategic error from the beginning. So there were no women, and every year we would have these international students that would come and stay for the summer and lived with us in our house. And so I was exposed. We had 10 of them from India and Switzerland and England and Argentina and all these different places. So it really opened my eyes to a world that in my little town, 6,000 people in northern Illinois, I would not have been able to have. So I became very aware, and through this teacher, she opened my eyes to another part of the world and the sociological issues that they were dealing with. And I saw the social injustice that was going on and the poverty of women, and my thought was really triggered. And I have to roll the clock now forward a decade or two, and I was honored to be president of this club. And one of the things that this club does for its presidents is send them to the Rotary International Convention. And I was fortunate enough to go to Australia. And there, the concept of microfinance was opened up into my eyes. I had no idea what that was about, but here was the first time that I saw a program that made sense for bringing women up economically and from leadership points of view. And I got really, Mohammed Yunus, I think was the speaker. You may have heard of him recently. And I got very interested in microfinance and began to study it in some depth. And then I went through my year as Rotary, and I loved being president of this club. It was such an honor and such fun. But about 6 years later, I was asked to be district governor, and that was my opportunity to really begin to do something. And I fell in love with microfinance, micro banking, and we raised the money in our district, 6,600 here, to start 12 microbanks in Honduras. And these microbanks only serve women. Their borrowers are all women because they are the economic heads of the household. And it was such wonderful outcome that I saw. And I'll give you a couple anecdotes and then I'll be quiet for a bit. Not for long, but for a bit. The really cool thing is they would make very small loans because these women who were borrowers, they were all co-directors and co-owners of their microbank, and they would borrow maybe $50 or $75 or $100. That's all they needed between them and economic and healthy families. Oops. Yeah. So it was awesome, and they had solidarity groups. So every microbank, each one of the 12, had a group of maybe 30 or 40 women who would support each other, and they were required to save a certain amount of money, and they paid their loans back. Their loan repayment rate was much better than conventional commercial lending in all of North America. So it's a really interesting concept. So I remember two anecdotes, and then I will be quiet. One was we went to Central America several times, and we met these women would come to these conferences. It's called Uniendo America, and they would present whatever it was that their little ventures were doing. Some of them made bracelets or whatever things that they could sell. And I remember this one woman. She came and she said, "I was born blind. I was totally dependent on my family. But then I heard about the microbank, and I found I could borrow some money to become a masseuse. I am totally independent. I don't need my eyes for being a masseuse. I'm totally independent and self-governing." The other one was there was a hurricane that sat over Honduras for 5 days, and all of the villages were so difficult that the sides of mountains just slid off the mountain. And these women who were in the microbank came to our central agency there in Honduras and said, "You must give us more loans. You must give us more loans. We have this disaster." And And they said, no, we won't give you more loans. Remember, you have been saving money as part of the requirements of this program. You have the money to rebuild, and they did. And so that's a little bit about what Rotary is doing and what microfinance does, but what the role of women in leading the way to rebuilding and reconstructing. Today, there's more than $500,000 microfunding organization. They've had less than 5% loan failure, and so it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that anecdote. And I think you know, through the generations, as you have learned more about, you know, women in the role of economy and women as lenders and business owners, investing in women does pay the dividends. And when I think about my personal experience, you know, I'm younger in my career, but also then I realize I'm not that young in my career, which is a terrifying realization, but that's okay. I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with a boss who paves the way, moves barriers out of the way, and says, you're a freight train coming through, so let me get all these things out of the way, otherwise you're going to crash into them. Thank you, Sham. Sham Suchuk, the current chair of He for She, happens to be my boss, and let's give him a round really quick. Yes. And when we think about these men who see that women are the change makers, who want to create new opportunities for other folks and inspire other women, when you are thinking about being influential, not only in your roles in your business, but also in your life, what advice would you give for a young he for she or someone considering being a he for she? I'll start with this.
Probably the first piece of advice is listen to the women around you. I have a wife and a daughter. My daughter especially, very career-oriented woman. She's 30 years old. She doesn't look and say, oh, there's the CEO. Dad, let me tell you what you need to do. That's the kind of great, straight advice I do that. But also, if I may, a woman who had a huge influence on me, and we talked about this, my mother. My mother passed away in 2019, and Chuck, like you at the end, I was taking care of her, which really was impactful for me to understand what she had done for me over the years. But when I did her eulogy, I said she was a working woman before it was cool to be a working woman. She had no support. She raised 5 kids. She worked full-time, and she busted her ass constantly to do that. I mean, she was a great role model, and it really made me, as I got into business, appreciate the other side of that. And I grew up in this traditional Italian household. My father never cooked a meal. He never washed a shirt. And I don't say that to criticize my father, but she did it all. And I mean, so that's my first advice. Listen to women around you and what they have to say. That's probably where you're going to get your best advice.
I love that. Everyone hear that? Write that one down. Write that one down. All right, Chuck, what piece of advice would you give to up-and-coming he for she's?
Up-and-coming he for she, oh my gosh, just let your light shine. You know, I think the men in the world are becoming smarter and recognizing the enormous impact that women have on our public life and our business life and so forth. And I would...
Okay.
And
Hold it straight this way, Chuck. There you go.
It was,
there you go. You got it. You got it. Just do the same thing with this one. I used to work for Chuck.
my wife must be controlling the AV stuff. You know, it's been a piece of work. Our company was started by my mother-in-law, and I was house counsel for a company in Chicago, and I came to work for my mother-in-law with a 40% pay cut. Now that is really something. Oh, but it was really a trip, and you know, lots of times we didn't know where we were going, but we did have one thing that was so helpful, and that was our mission statement, which was about uplifting, enlightening, enriching the lives of those we serve. We didn't know exactly what we were going to do, but we had that as our objective. But it led us because we were thinking about how can we make a difference in the lives of the people who are customers and in the care facilities around the country. And we developed this unique technology and absorbent technologies. Now, when I became governor for Rotary District 6600, I was gone a lot, and my wife said, well, the kids are growing out of the house. I think I'll go down and work at the company. You know, so I had a volunteer. She knew how to hijack a meeting like nobody I ever saw. You know, but she was awesome. I wanted to bring her today, but she had lots of other stuff she was doing. But it was a perfect match for the two of us because she had a very good design sense. That was her background in design work, and she really got into building, when we would build an addition or a plant expansion, she would get into all the really humanizing aspects of the design and construction of the plant. And it's so cool because the last one we done won the American Institute of Architecture Award, I think because she worked so well with our architect. And so, did that answer your question? I don't know.
I think so.
I think I went off script. I'm not sure.
I think as you spoke to creating space for your wife and different people to take the role of the leader,
Yeah,
I think you did. I think you.
And I need to add that if you look at the leadership ranks of our company today, 5 of the senior leaders in our company are women, which is awesome. They do so much, and they bring such creativity, and it's such a perfect blend of talents and skills.
Well, and I know Vince has also increased his number of executive leaders who are women, and so I think it is a bigger strategy. And then Rodney, what advice would you give for future he for she's?
Well, quick shout out to Carol Stocking. I believe all of that. And Melissa Greenlee, who I'm going to make fun of because I used to work with her, incredible senior leader. If you haven't met her, please do. Please do. If you're a man in this room who says and thinking to yourself right now that I'm an advocate for women, great. The thing that I would challenge you on in he for she and the value that I see in it is that there's always something new that you need to learn. Not everybody has the benefit of having a Candace Harrison sitting by your side, telling you everything you need to do. And Vince is blessed to have her. But if you want a space where you can actually have a safe space to ask the questions that you know you want to ask and be educated on, but you're concerned about the risk of bringing it up. And he for she, I've been in many meetings where we're all sitting around the room, and Shyam is a big driver of this, and we're asking honest conversations to say, hey, I want to know about this, or how do I do this, or I'm concerned about this. It's that continuous learning that he for she provides, not just in their programming, but then there are certain spaces as men where we can sit and talk and just discuss from a perspective of learning and really trying to understand the space. But don't take for granted that you know, because I think there are times when we have good intentions and we say things like, I want a qualified candidate. Well, if she's at the table, she's already qualified. But sometimes we say these things out of our mouth with good intention, but we don't understand the impact. So it doesn't mean you're wrong, you just may not be informed. So my challenge is, how are you remaining informed if you're not in these spaces?
I think that's phenomenal. And there was something that Vince said during our meeting, which was there's a big difference between making money and adding value. And that it shot me back in my chair, because the idea of that, as women are coming into leadership roles, maybe that's a non-traditional, women role for a woman to be in. The idea of them adding value, that is as good or better than money sometimes. And so giving that challenge to say, be curious, be thoughtful, be inquisitive. Don't be afraid to get lost on the journey just as long as you're on the journey. And that was something we also talked about. So we're going to open it up to questions now, and I'm going to pass off the microphone to go be to President Kevin. So please, if you have questions, we would love them.
All right, I'm resetting the floor mic, so if you've got questions, come on up and ask them.
Hey, everybody. I just want to say that I am so happy about this because I'm a Woman of Toledo member. Hey, Nina. And obviously a Rotary member, so this is like a proud collaboration moment here. And I just want to say that the men in Toledo that are supporting the women is so powerful, because sometimes as women we know our voices are muted sometimes. And I just want to say it is 2 men in Rotary that I just got this new job and they did my referrals. And because they're so respected, I got the job in like a week, right? So I'm at Lutheran Social Services as the marketing and communication specialist. I just want to thank Kurt Church. I want to thank you so much. And Dr. Marvin Whitfield, who's not here, and everybody else that has supported me in Rotary, but the men that are supporting the women, that is a powerful thing, and they need to continue to do it, because I'm telling you, if one of my women friends, like a Candace, who I know would have referred me, and would have said something, I might have got it, but then because these men came up and I think you're on the board or something, right? So I knew you're not. I didn't mean to put you out there like that, but the whole point is it's powerful and it needs to happen. And as a young entrepreneur who is now in the corporate nonprofit space, and this is my second corporate nonprofit job, that meant a lot, because I was not employed for 6 months waiting for a job, applied for every single job. And it just took 2 men to say she's qualified for me to get it. So I thank you, and I thank Rotary, and I thank Women of Toledo. Thank you.
I was told I should wear heels. What I was going to say is that as a mom of a 12-year-old son, my question, I think maybe to the panel, or maybe this could be afterwards, is how do I'm obviously navigating raising a young son in this world, right? And I'm all about, you need to be an advocate for women, you need to be an advocate for women. And, all of his friends are girls, and I'm like, that's really good, because he gets all the juicy gossip. But besides that, how can I position him to, going forward, and what's the age, in which this he for she starts, and what does that look like for the future path for my son?
Well, I know. Is it done? Yeah, I think my he for she started when I was 60. So, but I would say you already sound like a great example of a mom to me, and I brought up the example of my mom. I think just being that strong person that you are is the best thing you can do for your son.
Hi, everybody. I have a wonderful husband at home who takes a role that is a little non-traditional, if we're speaking about traditions, because I'm a leader in the community and it requires a lot of energy from me. And my husband is wonderful and takes on duties that he wouldn't ordinarily take on so that I could do what I do. And I will fiercely protect him till the day I die for that. My question for all of you, and specifically for Rodney, my husband is a black male, and there's men in his family that are a bit judgmental of him for supporting me in that way. What advice do you have for him? Because I will fiercely protect him, but what advice do you have for him, to those other individuals in his family that don't agree with it? How can he go about doing that while still maintaining those relationships?
Okay, now this is marriage advice. So I am not a certified disclosure, I'm not a certified. So I'll try to answer in 2 ways. Some of the best advice to me and my wife, again, being together 25 years, married for 23, is keep your family out of your business. It's that simple.
Amen.
Now, I know that's easier said than done, and I'm including mom and dad, and I love my mother. She's wonderful, but we don't tell our family unless you're really, really close friends, how we operate our home. How you operate your home is how you operate your home. It's that simple and plain. There's not one way to operate a business. There's not one way to operate a home or any organization. Do what works for you and be settled in the fact that this is what we do. The second thing is I do get the challenge of the traditional male and female roles, right? There are things that we have a mix of traditional and non-traditional in our home. My wife has never cut a blade of grass. Doesn't mean she's not a great woman. She just don't like cutting grass, and I do, okay? But at the same time, she does all the shopping, not because I tell her to do the shopping, it's because she's much better at it than I am. So again, I say that to say, I know there's not a perfect answer, but the one thing that me and my wife got settled in is just that this is our home. This is how we run our home. It works for us. We have 23 years to suggest that there's something going right, and just being settled in that. There will always be voices. settle in who you are and just move forward.
Thank you.
Just more of a comment. I have two daughters. That one's a marine biologist in Guam, and the other one is going to be a chemical engineer in May. They get it from their mom, not their dad. But my youngest daughter, Audrey, actually got an internship opportunity with SSOE this past summer. Her job share partner, she's at the University of Minnesota, so he was in the St. Paul office, but she was able to work here in Toledo with her job share partner, who happened to be a woman from Clemson, who somehow you guys convinced her to move up to Toledo, Ohio from Clemson University. I'm not sure how. But selfishly, we're trying to get our kids to come home, and I probably will never have that happen. But from a dad perspective, we give our kids the tools to learn. I mean, Audrey has been a dog sitter. She's worked at the concert series downtown. She's been a waitress, and now she's going to be able to live her dream of being a chemical engineer. And I think that, having the opportunities, with Vince up here on the stage, talking about how they've empowered women, especially in the engineering field, to be able to do that, I just think it's phenomenal. I had to say that.
I really appreciate that comment. I mean, we are really reaching out to that generation of women and engineers is really important. So I'm glad you had a very positive experience at our company. Thank you. Pardon? Yeah.
I think it's very liberating not to think of gender at all, but just to look at the talents and the skills of individuals and just love the hell out of them. It's awesome when you can give people the opportunity and the resources to be what they can be, do what they do best, and it blesses everybody in the room.
I just want to say that I'm a physician, and I started a group practice in 1976. We grew up to like 7 or 8 physicians, and for 38 years, out of 24 employees, 22 were women. And each time we had a manager, we always selected a female. And I can testify that they were nice and gentle with our patients, and they supported us. All the doctors had to be male, somehow were male. But I am really thankful the way they conducted our office, managed it, and the way they treated our patients. And I was always proud of them. And unfortunately, I have 4 sons and no daughter, but, but I had 5 sisters. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for the questions and the little anecdotes. It is wonderful to see, these men advocating for women. Chuck, did you have another thought? I can see it on your lips.
And it's something that is close to this club's heart, and that is the opportunity of men and women as well, but to serve the interests of women in healthcare. And we have one of our club members years ago, Libby Rupert, who was a wonderful physician and had this idea of how to improve the healthcare outcomes for women. And out of that came PCHI, which serves the needs of pregnant and minority women and women who are on the low end of the economic spectrum. And they have made an enormous contribution to, creative contribution to the health and well-being of women and the delivery of children full term, which saves taxpayers an enormous amount of money. Healthy, full-term babies is a great investment. I'm grateful for Libby and also Billy Johnson for her work working with our region. What fabulous community contributors these people have been.
I love that. And as a younger, female leader in the community, men who decide to take time out of their lives to come up on stage, to talk about it, and to call out other women and the impacts that they've made, it really means something. So let's give them a round of applause for all their time today. And as we leave you, be curious, be intentional, be aware, and be part of the solution. And now we're going to introduce Sham Suchak, the chair of He for She Women of Toledo. Can we give Sham Suchak a round of applause, please?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, the panel, Julia. You were great as always. Really, really good to be in this space. This is my third year acting as chair, and I'm looking forward to passing the baton in a minute. But as I was reflecting on some of the conversations that were going on, I think one of the things that I'm hoping that all of you were able to do sitting here, just reflect on how you're already making an impact. A lot of times we don't take that time to really think what we're already doing, but just kind of be intentional about the work that you're already doing, figure out what you can continue to do. Like Julia said, educate yourself, be aware. I am proud to be a part of a leadership team at A.N. Grady Services where 6 of our 9 members are women. Very talented and inspiring women that I get to work with. And I'm also a clinical counselor at a woman-owned business, the Willow Center. So really proud to be a part of those organizations. And as we wrap up today's afternoon, because we've always had this event in the evening, so I'm the afternoon. I would say it's not about giving an opportunity to somebody because of their gender, but it's more about not giving somebody an opportunity because of their gender. So please be intentional about how we're looking at the talent around us, how we're looking at the opportunities. We're so used to holding that door open for people, right? That's an etiquette that we follow. Let's hold the doors open to opportunities. We're so used to pulling that seat for the women at restaurants. Let's do it at the board meeting tables. Let's do it at other places where we can actually say it matters. So with that, I would like to conclude my 3 years of being chair and invite Jonathan Dorsley, who's the Director of Marketing and Engagement, who's going to be taking over the baton.
I'm excited to continue the work that Shama started. He's been an excellent leader and driver of this work. I hope this isn't the last time I see you all in here so we can talk about gender equity and how we can be better men for our women. And I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you to everyone for being here and being a part of the conversation. Special thanks to Julia Hage and all of our panelists. As usual, Rotarians know this is coming. We've got a copy of Historical Tales of Toledo, a book that was authored about our own past president, Clint Mock, that celebrates the history of Toledo. We're appreciative of the work that you guys are doing to build a stronger future as well. We're also going to make a donation in your name to the Polio Plus Fund to help eradicate polio as part of Rotary International's ongoing commitment to eliminate that horrible disease. So thank you. One more round of applause for our panelists. Next week, we have our second Service Above Self Day. It's when we all get to go out in the community and do the work. We've got some incredible projects that are coming up. So instead of the luncheon, we're going to go out into the community. Youth Services is teaming up with Vocational Services to do a project in Maumee with Let's Build Beds. International Services is hosting a visit to the Mesa Medical Equipment and Supplies Abroad, the Mesa Warehouse in Fostoria, to learn more about the work they do locally and internationally. And I think I also saw the Environmental Services Committee is going to be meeting in West Toledo and sorting solar glasses. So not as sexy as building beds, but also just as important, and we've got a lot of them. So they're going to be sorting solar glasses for recycling purposes to determine which ones can move on to the next community experiencing a total solar eclipse as well. In November, we are back at the Glass City Center for some great programs. Fellow Rotarians, Justin Moore from the Area Office on Aging, Jim Ravis from Boys and Girls Club of Toledo, and Dr. Lasharde Scott of the Scott Center. Just some of the programs coming in November. There are two committee meetings. Program committee will put on this side of the room. The foundation trustees will meet on this side of the room. Everyone else has to leave the room. With that, we are adjourned. Go out and make it a great day. Thank you.